Together we learn, together we grow, together we heal, together we flow. Be cool, every teacher, every school. 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 Be cool, every teacher.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Todd Scholl. I serve as the lead learner for our Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. We call ourselves CEWL, and you can learn more about CEWL right here on this website, cool.us, that's CEWL.us. And of course, we're brought to you by a grant from the NEA, and we are affiliated with NEA's state affiliate here in South Carolina, the SCEA. And if you're interested in becoming a part of our movement at the SCEA, you can go to this website, jointhescea.org. Lots of great benefits. You get to be a member not only of the South Carolina Education Association, but the National Education Association and your local education association. So tonight we are going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is yoga and social emotional learning. We're going to be talking with Alex Del Castillo, who is a sixth grade teacher in Horry County, where I live, at Ocean Bay Middle School, where my oldest daughter went to school. And he is a yogi, and he is a teacher, and he is an expert in social emotional learning. He was also one of our participants at the mindfulness and wellness retreats that we do, funded through a grant from the NEA. And it's my pleasure to be working with him. And he has created a whole series of videos that you can find on the SCEA's TikTok channels and Instagram channels. He does cool yoga. He does mindfulness videos, and he does different types of wellness tips. So if you are not connected with the SCEA on TikTok, all you have to do is go over there, search for the SCEA. On TikTok and Instagram, and then you can start enjoying his work. But without further ado, let's bring on Alex Del Castillo. How are you doing tonight, Alex?
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. So is there anything else that you would like to share with the people who are watching about your background and your profession?
Sure. Yeah. So let's see. I graduated from Coastal back in 2020. As you said, I do teach math and science, sixth grade. Well, this year I'm all math. And I'm currently actually working on my master's degree in social emotional learning, mindfulness, and yoga, which is really cool. I feel like it falls perfectly with my beliefs. I'm also a 500-hour certified yoga instructor, and I do teach yoga at Real Hot Yoga Studios on Sundays. So it all just ties together. I'm really trying to live by what I preach.
Yeah. So I always say people who like to do hot yoga, I said, for me, yoga, just regular yoga is hard enough. Like the idea of it being hot just doesn't very appealing to me. But I know lots of people who like it and seem to really, really enjoy it and feel like they get maybe a little more flexibility. So talk to me a little bit about that master's program that you're going through. Who is that through? And tell me a little bit more about that. For people
So a couple of years ago, There's a couple of years ago, I got my certification in being a SEL, social emotional learner facilitator, through a company called Breathe for Change. They are amazing. It is a company ran by teachers for teachers. Like the person in charge who created the whole Breathe for Change movement used to be a teacher. And she noticed, teacher burnout and the amount of stress and anxiety that students were experiencing. And so she decided to pursue a whole degree in mindfulness and wellness, and she started up the program. So the SELF, the social emotional learning certification, She decided she had lots of teachers were a part of the organization or who were getting certified for SEL for social emotional learning. It was also how I got my yoga certification as well. There was just such a high quantity of teachers that were involved that she decided let's make a master's. And so I was looking for master's degrees, and it just happened to be literally the exact same time as she was presenting this whole idea of being able to obtain it. So I'm getting mine through Wolf University, which is out of the country, but it is accredited, and I believe they just shifted over to a U.S. based college for their accreditation as well. So it's fully accredited. I definitely recommend it. The entire program is amazing. It's 100% focused on just mindfulness and the overall social well-being of students and educators, and how we can help give back to our communities, and just really bring this idea of mindfulness into our lives all around us.
I'd like to kind of divide our conversation into sort of three buckets tonight. The first one is what drew you into the teaching profession and what it is that sustains you in that profession, and then kind of move into yoga and then into SEL. I feel like that would be a good progression.
Yeah.
Let's start off there. Like, what drew you into the teaching profession, and what sustains you? I mean, you've been doing it for a few years now, and I know you've had already received some accolades as the Rookie Teacher of the Year in Horry County. But what drew you into it and keeps you going?
I'm glad that this question is asked, because because of my master's, I'm towards the end of this, and I'm working on my practicum and my capstone. That is one of our reflective questions, is like, what brought us into education in the first place, and some of the hardships that I faced within my school experience as a child. And originally in middle school, I was very much picked on. Like, I was bullied. I was very feminine. I was always picked on for being gay, and in middle school, like, that was very hard for me. I experienced a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. I had a lot of suicidal thoughts, and it was terrible middle school experience. It got better towards my 8th grade year, and then I went to early college high school, where it was just a small school. I had very amazing teachers, an amazing community. I felt safe. It was really the first time where I was able to really develop that sense of community. And I believe it was during my Avid class where we had to help each other learn the content, learn the material, and like help each other, student tutoring essentially. I realized that I really enjoyed helping people with math. And I said, if I'm going to do something, let's see how teaching goes. And then I went to Coastal for education. And originally I was going to do high school math, but I reflected on how much I needed the type of teachers I had in high school and middle school. So I went with middle school, and I'm just trying to create that sense of safety that I had when I was in high school, but at the middle school world, because that's where I needed it the most. I feel like that's where a lot of kids are just experiencing new emotions. They're going through puberty. Everything's super intense. They're figuring out who they are. And I feel like just having a safe zone, having a place where, I don't know, that feels comfortable, it goes a long way. So I think that's really the basis of what brought me into education. What um, drives me is to just ensure that my kids feel safe, they're enjoying it, and I can essentially just be there for them.
Yeah, it's a great story. And I think that's such a powerful narrative. To not just go in because you're interested in a subject matter, but you're actually interested in creating spaces for young people. And I know you're passionate about the subject area, but I think the best teachers are the ones that see that, creating an environment where students feel safe and heard and seen, and also creating an environment where you're building that positive relationship. And then once they trust you, then it's like you can deliver whatever the curriculum is.
Absolutely. I feel like before true learning happens, there has to be some form of trust. You'll get kids that will learn either way, but it's a lot more impactful and valuable whenever they feel like they are loved, when they feel like they are seen, when they feel like they are heard. Like if you just give 10 minutes at the beginning of your class dedicated for that community building, for that, hey, how was your weekend? What did you do for Halloween? What did you dress up for Halloween? They're more attentive throughout the class versus like trying to trying to obtain their attention throughout the class because you gave that time at the beginning. So I definitely agree.
So with when it comes to yoga, people think about it in a lot of different ways. I know some people think of it just as like, I'm going to go, it's like a workout. And so some people, it's like a stress reliever. For some people, it's a spiritual practice. For you, what drew you to yoga, and then what drew you to become a yoga instructor once you started practicing yoga? Why is it that you wanted to get certified as a yoga teacher?
Absolutely. So I remember in high school, so I'm telling you, my life changed in high school. I just had such a great community. In my PE class, my PE teacher was also my advisor, Miss Tammy Lee, and uh, she dedicated a portion of the time that we had in PE for yoga. So we would do these interesting stretches, just opening up, breathing, and I really enjoyed it. And that was that. That was just high school that I experienced it. That was cool. I noticed that I was just a little bit more flexible than some of my peers, but whatever. Flash forward to college, I went through a lot of intense moments in my life, and I got into counseling and therapy. And at one point, I ended up going to like a group counseling therapy session with other people, and I had one person in there that I connected very well with, and she was going to like a community class at Real Hot Yoga Studios for $5, and she's like, "Come with me, you'll have fun." I went, and I loved it, and every after that, I was going at least once a week. And then when I started teaching, I started to go once a week, twice a week. Ended up getting a membership, was going like 4, 5, 6 times a week. Um, really enjoyed it. I just noticed that like my mental health was so much better because of the yoga. I noticed that it gave me motivation. I felt healthier. I feel healthier when I do my yoga. I can go in stressed. I can go in just so drained. And once I leave that yoga class, I'm like, life is okay. And part of it was, oh, I think that would be really cool to teach that. But majority of the reason why I got my yoga certification was just how can I continue to apply and learn and use those lessons in my own life? Because I'm a very inquisitive person. I love learning. Um, and it, like I said, it was so impactful in my life that I wanted to learn and understand more. I also was like, I take my kids out like once a week, if not every other week, to go do like 5, 10 minutes of yoga outside. And I was doing that before I was a yoga instructor. And I figured, what better way to add to my credibility than by literally saying, I am a certified yoga instructor. I know what I'm doing whenever I go outside with these kids to do stretches. I'm not just out here wiggling around. So that was another part of the reasoning. I felt like in order for me to truly justify, like, yes, I take the kids outside for mindful movement, but I'm also a yoga, like certified yoga instructor.
Right.
Not saying that you have to be a yoga instructor to take your kids outside to do yoga, but I just, being in the county and district that we're in, it made me feel a little bit more comfortable being able to say that I do know what I'm doing when I got there.
Yeah, I think, it's one of those things when you take the class and you start learning about anatomy and those and modifications and things like that
Mhm.
for people, you can ensure that you're doing it safely. Um, I want to echo and just share that for those who are watching that I had a very similar experience with yoga. I had dabbled and tried it, but was going through a particularly challenging part of my life, and was going over here to yoga and common once, sometimes twice a day. And there was something about even going through that really hard time when I would go to yoga, it seemed to somehow digest some of the pain and the struggle that I was going through. It seemed to somehow kind of break it down a little bit. So when I left, it was like a big sense of relief, and yes, therapy, and yes, if you need medication and other, and I think meditation's great as well. But there's something about moving that energy around in yoga. I mean, I think they figured it out a long time ago. You know, we think yoga maybe was just like invented in the past 20 years here in the West, but it's it's been around for thousands of years and
Yeah,
cultivated over centuries. The interesting thing is there is something to it, and I find that fascinating. What
absolutely. It's that body mind connection that is very healthy, that is something that's very natural that we've stepped away from, I feel, in our society. We don't give ourselves enough focus of that body mind connection, which kind of leads us into that mindfulness aspect of why is mindfulness important? It's because we're so discombobulated as a society as a whole. Like we're just so glued to our phones. We uh, thrive on social media, and we're not giving enough focus to just, hey, let's take a second. Let's just focus on our breathing. Let's be present. Let's look around, see what's happening around us, and just be in the moment versus dwelling on the past and focusing on the future, or focusing on how many likes I get on this TikTok, or you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
And
I agree.
there's this perception of that it's all about the asanas,
Right.
and when you study it, as when you go through the training, I've only done the 2 hour 200 hours, but when you go through the training, you recognize that it's, you know, like you mentioned, there's breath work or pranayama, there's the sort of philosophical parts of it as well. So there's a lot more to it than just the movements or the poses.
Right. And I feel like so that's one of the, sometimes I'm a little weary to say we're doing yoga in the classroom, because our district has a tendency to be a little bit more restrictive when it comes to anything like that. They think that we're uh, I'm not trying to teach kids to become to join Hinduism or anything like that, but there is, I mean, if you do study, yogic roots, there's a strong and rich history that, um, beyond any religious connection, focuses on the breath, the body, and the mind. And if you want to get into the spiritual aspect of that, sure, absolutely, that's super rich, and we can talk about that for hours. But I, especially whenever I'm using it in the school, I try to just focus on that breath and body connection. Um, but it's super fascinating. Like there's just it's a whole world of information and culture and a rich history, that
Yeah, I mean, yoga does have a rich history, and yet there's a lot of neuroscience now showing that the breath practices that have been around for a long time, and that yoga itself, that it can be really supportive in terms of mental health, and just the breathing techniques depending on the type of breathing technique you're using, can activate the parasympathetic or can activate the
Mhm.
sympathetic part of the autonomic nervous system. So if you need to, like, wake up and energize
Right.
yourself, there's breath work for that. If you're feeling stressed out and you need to calm down, you can slow the exhale, and there's all kinds of research around that, and around the vagus nerve and vagal tone that maps onto this rich tradition that you're talking about.
Absolutely. And it, it's all scientifically there. Like there's science that backs up exactly what we're talking about, and that helps self-regulate the body, that we have access and tools to. That is one of the reasons why I am so passionate and try to really advocate for it within the school, but also just within your lives. You're talking about the vagus nerves and everything, but like within the nervous system, you're either, whenever you're stressed out, you're either going through hyperarousal or hypoarousal. You're either feeling super energized and shaky, that's more like your anxious vibes, or you're feeling a little bit more lower, sleepy, drowsy, shut down, and there are different breathing strategies and different movements that could be done to help re-regulate and get yourself back to a nice neutral baseline. So I think that, I mean, there's science, the science is there.
So when it comes to SEL, and I've been really discouraged and frustrated that SEL has somehow been demonized by certain segments of the political class. And I'm not sure exactly why or where the connections being made between SEL and, I don't know, Marxism or some type of woke ideology.
A woke agenda, yeah.
The woke agenda. I think for me, when I think about SEL, like my SEL teacher as a child was Mr. Rogers, is just a person who was talking about kindness and sharing and understanding how you feel inside and understanding and when you feel angry or when you feel sad or when you feel happy, able to identify those inner feelings and being okay with them, like and learning to process them and share around those things. When it comes to SEL, I think one of the problems in education is that educators immediately hear SEL and want to map it onto, like, how do I do SEL with students? And I know you probably share this opinion, which is SEL can't be brought to students if it's not understood on a personal level. If you're trying to just read a quick book or a curriculum guide about SEL and then you want to implement it in your classroom, but you haven't really practiced SEL on a personal level, it's not going to be done well, and it's certainly not going to be sustainable. What are your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. I feel like it's, for lack of better words, there's a buy-in, and before you sell something, you have to buy into it too. So if you're wanting to truly work on social emotional learning within the classroom, you have to be willing to practice that within your own lives and apply these different SEL techniques, recognizing the different emotions that you're experiencing, acknowledging, like, hey, what I'm feeling is okay. What I'm feeling is valid. I'm allowed to feel how I feel. Now let's work through it. Instead of just reacting, and because we live in a very reactive society, we see something, we are encouraged to get super mad or super happy. Just experience what you're feeling and let's work through it, and I definitely hear you whenever you say, like, there is this, like, perception that SEL is just, like, so unchristian, or like it's demonized, for lack of better words, and I just don't get it. We're just trying to help kids understand what they're feeling and help provide tools with ways for them to be able to handle those emotions. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that my research has been on throughout my master's, is providing kids with different, I call them mindfulness strategies. I tried to avoid SEL because, again, our district, but that's what it is. Social learning, mindfulness techniques, it's all just tools to help us understand what we're going through, what we're feeling, and how we can better handle that. And I feel like as educators, that's really at the basis of it too. We're taught that in college to help kids understand what they're going through and provide them with tools and ways. It's like through the hidden curriculum, we just don't like to give it a label, which
Right.
is a little silly, but helping ourselves understand what we're going through, helping ourselves apply different breathing techniques. Should kids, buy into it if you're not fully buying into it?
So yeah, I totally agree with that, and I would just encourage any educators really interested in SEL in their classroom to first adopt those SEL practices on a personal level, whether that's mindfulness, yoga, whatever you're interested in on that level. If you're not managing your own social emotional life, it's really difficult to teach it in a way that's genuine or authentic to young people. And I think that young people pick up on that
Absolutely.
inauthenticity
The kids read you. They read you. So if you are like super angry and you come in aggravated, they know you're aggravated. If you come in super tired and drained, they know you're tired and drained. So helping to regulate your own emotions is going to go a long way, especially whenever you're trying to help other people, little people, children understand and regulate their own emotions. It's very beneficial.
So, last question. What have we not talked about that you want to share with people tonight about yoga or SEL or anything else related to education before we sign off?
I really just encourage all educators to give it a chance. Like, give yourself one or two strategies, whether it's a mindful breathing technique like box breathing or straw breathing, or if you'd like to focus on a mindful movement technique, maybe it's just taking um, 2 minutes at the beginning of your class to do a few stretches with the kids, get them up. The kids don't need to be seated in your classroom for an hour listening to you talk.
Right.
You know, they need to move around, they need to engage, they need to breathe, they need to stop what they're doing and recognize that, hey, what I'm feeling is valid. And if I'm upset, I can't learn if I'm upset. If I'm super stressed, I can't learn when I'm stressed. So I really encourage all educators to just find a few strategies that work for you that you could be down to try to sell, right? Look at the kids, say, this is something that's been working for me. Will you I'd invite you to join me in doing this little technique. Let's see if we like it. My kids love 3 collective breaths. I literally will start either in the beginning of class or maybe in the middle of class when I notice everyone's anxious. I'll say, hey, let's take a moment. Let's do 3 collective breaths. And we just inhale and exhale 3 times all together. The other technique that my kids love is tapping, like taking a moment to regulate ourselves by the sensation of tapping. The kids love that one. And I do something called chime time. And I take a little bell or a little chime and I ring it. And we start off by standing and they close their eyes. And when they no longer can hear the sound, they sit. So it's a great way for them to let's bring our focus back into our senses. And it's amazing how much it reroutes the kids from high energy, and it just helps get them re-regulated to a neutral baseline. And I just continue class. So at beginning, middle, or end of class, try 1 or 2 strategies and don't just stop. Don't just do it once and be done with it. Be consistent with it.
Right.
Try it throughout the week, throughout different weeks, and just redo that same strategy. And I guarantee that the kids you're gonna see a difference. And the kids they're gonna want it. They're gonna ask for it.
Right. Yeah. The breath, those simple breath techniques where you're just expanding the exhale. So like you said, you can do that with box breathing or I think it's 4-7. Is it 4-7?
Yeah. 4-6 or 4-7.
4 on the inhale, 7 on a hold, 8 on the exhale. Those things are all backed by research. And there's a really great book. If you haven't read it, I want to just encourage everybody to read this book by James Nestor called Breath. And he goes through all the research and sort of the background around the importance of breath, the importance of nasal breathing, and the importance of slowing the breath down, controlling the breath, and the power that can have over the nervous system. Essentially, you're sort of hacking the nervous system in a way through your breath, because the breath signals to the brain if it's short and quick, that's when
it targets. It goes back to that vagus nerve.
Yeah. So it's powerful. The breath has an extremely powerful influence over our physical and mental well-being. So I appreciate that you do that.
And if anyone wants, mindfulness techniques or breathing strategies, if you check out the SCEA's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I post videos for mindful breathing, mindful strategies, mindful movements that can be done in the classroom. So definitely check those out if you are interested.
And I think you also brought up a really good point about whatever that you do, it should be invitational. You should never say, all right, everybody, we're going to do this. And then scold the kid who doesn't want to do it. it's invitational because that's the trauma sensitive way to
Yeah, trauma informed teaching. So inviting people who feel comfortable to do so, and then modifying it so that if kids don't want to actively do it with the class, they still have that option to do it secretly on their own.
Awesome. Well, thank you for everything that you do, Alex. I know I
My
haven't
pleasure.
had a chance to really meet with you in person or even virtually recently, and I just want to say you've done so much work for Cool and to promote the SCEA, and the work you do, I know, is making an impact. And I just everything you're doing on TikTok and Instagram and with Cool Yoga and all that, and Wind Down Wednesdays and all that is just really appreciated. And I appreciate that you are not only talking about it, but that you're living a living embodiment of these practices and bringing them into schools in an appropriate way. So thank you so much.
Of course, I appreciate it. We definitely have to get together, get some coffee or something.
That'd be great. All right, everybody. Alex Del Castillo, and you can find his videos right here at cool.us/yoga. Lots of great content there, and it's all free. It's all brought to you by Cool and a grant from the National Education Association. And of course, you can learn more about Cool, all the things we do, right here at cool.us. I also want to just mention again that we are brought to you in part by a grant from the National Education Association. And here in South Carolina, the affiliate is the South Carolina Education Association. And you can join them at jointhescea.org. You can also text the word, you can look down here, it'll say it eventually. You can text the word join to 48744 on your mobile device, and that will take you to where you need to go to join us as well. So coming up, we have next week, we have a session next Wednesday night at 6 with Audrey Kalianos, who is a registered dietitian. She's going to be talking about linguistic neuroplasticity. And I am not an expert on that, but from what she told me, it's basically how do we talk to ourselves about our dietary choices and about our actually taking care of ourselves. What is the language we use? What is that inner dialogue? And how does that impact the sustainability of the new habits that we want to form? So she's going to dive into that. So we want to encourage everybody to tune in next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Also want to mention that we are proud to provide Cool Coaching. This is free online one-to-one support for induction teachers. An induction teacher, by our definition, is a teacher who's within the first 5 years of their career. So any public educator in South Carolina who is in the first 5 years of their career can join for free. And it's every Tuesday and Thursday night from 6 to 8 o'clock. You do not need to be a member of the SCEA. Of course, we would love you to become one, but you don't have to be. All you have to do is log on to cool.us/coaching. You can ask one of these 3 veteran educators, Angie, Stephanie, or Dr. Marcelo Weinsnyder, who created the program. You can ask them your questions. You can get unfiltered, unbiased advice, confidential advice, and it's a wonderful free resource. So please take advantage of that. We've got lots of other great live streams and content coming up for you later on in December and January. We're going to be talking with some of the candidates for superintendent of education. Right now, we have interviews lined up with Sylvia Wright and Lisa Ellis. And we are also going to be talking with an administrator about trauma-sensitive spaces. So be on the lookout for those events coming up later in November, December, and January. Well, I hope you have a wonderful start to your November. Hope you have a great rest of your week. I want to thank again Alex Del Castillo for all the work he does to support Cool and the SCEA. And I want to thank you for tuning in tonight to tonight's live stream. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and join the SCEA. Bye, everybody.
Together we learn, together we grow, together we heal, together we flow. Be cool, every teacher, every school. Be cool, every teacher, every school. Be cool, every teacher, every school.